ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Thank you for coming. Today's verse will be the 17th verse of the second chapter. Avinashi tu tat vidhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham अव्ययस्य अस्य न कश्चित् कर्तुम् अर्हति। अविनाशी तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशम् अव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति। अविनाशी तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशम् अव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति। अविनाशी तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वम् इदं ततं विनाशम् अव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति। अविनाशी तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशम् अव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति। अविनाशी तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशम् अव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति। अविनाशी तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशम् अव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति अविनाशि तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततम्। विनाशम् अव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति। अविनाशी, imperishable, tu, but, tat, that, vidhi, know it, yena, by whom, sarvam, all of the body, idam, this, tatam, pervaded, vinasham, destruction, avyayasya, of the imperishable, asya, of it, na kaschit, no one, kartum, to do, arhati, is able. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Can't hear. Translation: that which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Please repeat. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Purport: this verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul, which is spread all over the body. Anyone can understand what is spread all over the body. It is consciousness. Everyone is conscious of the pains and pleasures of the body in part or as a whole. This spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. The pains and pleasures of one body are unknown to another. Therefore, each and every body is the embodiment of an individual soul, and a symptom of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. This soul is described as 1/10,000th part of the upper portion of the hair point in size. The Shvetashvatara Upanishad 5.9 confirms this. Balagra shatabhagasya shatatha kalpitasya cha bhago jiva savigneya sachanantyaya kalpate. When the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts, and again each of such parts is further divided into 100 parts, each such part is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. Similarly, the same version is stated, Keshagra shatabhagasya shatamshah sadrishatmakaha jiva sukshma swarupoyam sankhyatito hi chitkanaha. There are innumerable particles of spiritual atoms which are measured as 1/10,000th of the upper portion of the hair. Therefore, the individual particle of spirit soul is a spiritual atom smaller than the material atoms, and such atoms are innumerable. This very small spiritual spark is the basic principle of the material body, and the influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body as the influence of the active principle of some medicine spreads throughout the body. This current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness, and that is the proof of the presence of the soul. Any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body, and this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. Therefore, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but to the spirit soul. In the Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.9, the measurement of the atomic spirit soul is further explained. Eshonuratma chetasa veditavyo yasmin pranaha panchadha samvivesha pranaischittam sarvamotam prajanam yasmin vishuddhe vibhavatyesha atma. The soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. This atomic soul is floating in the 5 kinds of air: Prana, Apana, Vyana, Samana and Udana. Is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. The Hatha Yoga system is meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures, not for any material profit but for liberation of the minute soul from the entanglement of the material atmosphere. So the constitution of the atomic soul is admitted in all Vedic literatures, and it is also actually felt in the practical experience of any sane man. Only the insane man can think of this atomic soul as all-pervading Vishnu Tattva. The influence of the atomic soul can be spread all over a particular body. According to the Mundaka Upanishad, this atomic soul is situated in the heart of every living entity, and because the measurement of the atomic soul is beyond the power of appreciation of the material scientists, some of them assert foolishly that there is no soul. The individual atomic soul is definitely there in the heart along with the super soul, and thus all the energies of bodily movement are emanating from this part of the body, which is the heart. The corpuscles which carry the oxygen from the lungs gather energy from the soul. When the soul passes away from this position, the activity of the blood generating fusion ceases. Medical science accepts the importance of the red corpuscles, but it cannot ascertain that the source of the energy is the soul. Medical science, however, does admit that the heart is the seat of all energies of the body. Such atomic particles of the spirit whole are compared to the sunshine molecules. In the sunshine, there are innumerable radiant molecules. Similarly, the fragmental parts of the Supreme Lord are atomic sparks of the rays of the Supreme Lord, called by the name Prabha or superior energy. So, whether one follows Vedic knowledge or modern science, one cannot deny the existence of the spirit soul in the body, and the science of the soul is explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita by the personality of Godhead Himself. So, Srila Prabhupada quoted this verse many times in his preaching. Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya nakaschit kartum arhati. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So, philosophically, Krishna has explained earlier that the soul goes from boyhood to youth to old age, and then similarly passes into another body at death. Now, Krishna is giving even more tangible evidence of the presence of the soul. Now he is saying that that which pervades the entire body, first thing, yena sarvam idam tatam, it pervades the entire body. Now, whichever corner of the body we touch, we can immediately feel it. So, that is consciousness. So, because we are conscious, we are able to do so many things with this body. We are always conscious. The symptom of the soul is consciousness. Now that consciousness is pervading all over this body. Every part of the body, the consciousness is there. So it is as you can see, it is mentioned in the purport that the soul is a spiritual atom. A spiritual atom smaller than material atom. So therefore, the material scientists cannot find it under the microscope. They cannot find it. Because it is beyond the purview of the human eye. Not just because of its small size, because also material senses cannot perceive the spirit soul. It's a different dimension altogether. The Supreme Lord is so big, yet we cannot see. The spirit soul is so small, and we cannot see. So, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. The Lord, He is expanding. He is known as Vibhu, who is the bigger than the biggest. And then we have the smaller than the smallest, which is the individual spirit soul. But although it is so small, its influence is so great that however big the body is, the consciousness will develop to the entire extent of that body. Now we have a body of certain size, maybe 6 feet. So that we are conscious of this entire body. Now even if the tree is also another body. The tree is also another body. But the tree is sometimes, some trees are so big, but in the entire tree there is only one soul that is powering that whole tree. Of course, there are many creepers which grow on top of it, and then, even in our body there are so many worms, and each worm got a soul inside. They are parasites. That's another thing. But this body, particular body, is powered by one soul, and the big tree with extensive roots network, and very very great height, maybe hundreds of meters tall, and so wide. It is also powered by one soul, which is that same. It is not that the tree has bigger soul. No, the soul is always the same, atomic in size, 1/10,000th tip of the hair. And it is said the soul is situated in the heart. Where is the heart of the tree? Where there is heart for the tree? We may calculate heart is like this, which is pumping blood. But according to Vedic conception, heart means the seat of the energy, where the soul is actually sitting. Maybe for the tree it's the root, somewhere at the root. So, the heart, what is that? Hriddesha Arjuna, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hriddesha Arjuna Tishtati. The super soul is also sitting with the individual soul in the heart. Two souls are there in the heart. One is the individual soul and one is the super soul. Atma and Paramatma. Now, according to science, there are some involuntary muscles like the heart, the lungs. Lungs, you may say, maybe voluntary in one sense. You can stop if you want. But the heart, you cannot stop. You say involuntary muscles. Or even digestion is happening without our attention. For a cow, she will actually move the food from one stomach to another. She can actually control. We can't even control. And it is automatically happening. I think they say 4 stomachs or something. 4 parts. So, the cow has to manually do it. Imagine having an automatic washing machine and a manual one. You have to put in everything, you have to put water, and then you have to take out and put in the other one. Something like that. But fully automatic is, you just put inside and then it will. So like that, our digestion is working. We are not controlling it. So, although the soul is there in the body, and although we are conscious of the entire body, we actually cannot function without the super soul. That's why he says, I am the fire of digestion. Fifteen, 14. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritah Pranapana Samayuktah Pachamyannam Chaturvidham. I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life outgoing and incoming to digest the 4 kinds of foodstuffs. 4 kinds of foodstuff are to be sucked, to be chewed, to be drunk, something like this. 4. So we say Chaturvidha Sri Bhagavat Prasada. 4 types we can eat. So he is the fire of digestion. So the digestive system is working on his order. So the heart is pumping on his order. Although we may say we are powering this body, but we also don't know how we are powering this body. How we are able to do something which we don't even know how to do. Even the baby, the heart is pumping. What does the baby know? And what does even even adults, what do they know about how? To study the body anatomy itself, it took MBBS 5 years. Huh? 5 years MBBS you study to just understand a bit of what is going on. Even then there are so many things which we cannot understand. The doctor is also making guesswork. He is asking what is the symptom, what is it. Then he is giving certain medicine. If you have some problem, you come back and tell me. Why? If he is so sure what is going on, then he should know. Of course, some basic things they will know. So, we actually cannot function on our own. Not only are the ingredients for our existence supplied by the Lord, but even our own body is conducted by His order. So, today's verse, Krishna is saying, Avinashi, you look here. Don't look here and why you are so distracted. Okay. Avinashi tu Tattvavit. So now, the next point is Avinashi. Now, whatever it is, the consciousness, we are conscious. A dead body is not conscious. You pinch yourself or somebody pinches you, immediately you will feel the pain. But a dead body, you pinch or you shoot it dead, you're already dead. You shoot it, you do whatever you want. Hit with an axe, nothing, it won't protest. But there is protest from living body. So this is consciousness. I am conscious of my pains and pleasures of my body. Now this consciousness is Avinashi, Krishna is telling. This cannot be destroyed. Consciousness cannot be killed. Vinasham avyayasya. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So the influence of the tiny spiritual atom is consciousness, and that consciousness and the soul cannot be destroyed. It is always existing. What?
Consciousness is intelligence.
No.
But subtle body.
It is not subtle body we are talking about. We are talking about the symptom of the soul, consciousness. Like if I am pinched, I will know. I am conscious of that. If I have a headache, I am conscious of it. This consciousness, the sense of awareness, the sense of existence, it is a symptom of the soul. So, intelligence is, that is function of the intelligence. You actually deliberate on some, it's a rational function. We're not talking about that. To just be conscious of our pains and pleasures, that is existing in the most unintelligent being also. So that is called consciousness. So Krishna is saying now, the interesting part is this consciousness is Avinashi, can never be destroyed. You may ask, then what about the unconscious people who went into coma? They are living but they are not conscious. What happened to their consciousness? The soul is dead or what? What is happening there? It is just like a deep sleep. The consciousness has 4 states. 3 in the material state and 1 in the spiritual state. What are they? I think there is a verse. Okay, this is what lecture in London. Wait a second. Yeah. Jagrat Swapna Sushuptam cha gunato buddhi vrittayah tasam vilakshano jivah sakshitvena vinishchitah. Waking, sleeping and deep sleep. Sleeping means here we are talking about, Swapna means actually it is dreaming state. And Sushupti means deep sleep. And Jagrati means the awakened state. Are the three functions of the intelligence and are caused by the modes of material nature. You see this? The living entity within the body is ascertained to possess characteristics different from these three states and thus remains as a witness to them. So we are witnessing the dream. We are, of course, deep sleep is like consciousness is completely in the mode of ignorance, covered by the three modes. And then, covered by the mode of ignorance. An awakened state is more or less in the, not exactly goodness, but out of the three, it is the most enlightened state. But above these three, there is a transcendental consciousness, is called Vasudeva Sthiti, where one is always Krishna conscious. Krishna consciousness is above these three. So when we say, every time we are before Bhagavad Gita, we are chanting Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. We are chanting that verse. Do you remember? You have to learn these verses by heart. So when we say Ajnana Timirandhasya, these three, although Jagrati and Swapna and Sushupti are three states of consciousness in the material, all are avidya or ajnana. That means in ignorance. Because even the so-called awakened man is not awakened to his reality of life, who he is. So that jnana is lacking, knowledge is lacking. And because of that it is considered sleep also. It's a deep slumber of ignorance. So, the consciousness passes through these three. So, when it's a coma or something, it's just like deep sleep. Every night we are facing one mini coma. We are sleeping, we don't even know what's going on. Sometimes we can't even hear. You know? So, death means permanent sleep. Actually, no, it's not. It's permanent sleep. Because the soul will never. It will pass on. And the soul is still active somewhere else. But because this body doesn't have the soul anymore, it is becoming inactive. That's all.
When we take medicines or
Yes.
feeling sleep, it's controlled by chemical
Yes. So this is also how come, just like they give the, what is it called? The chloroform. The consciousness is gone. So how can the consciousness be controlled by chemical, which is a material ingredient? And the symptom of called consciousness is a spiritual symptom of the soul. So again, if the consciousness is only limited, just like when we are getting tired, there are some chemicals which induce sleep in our body. You know. So, but these, as it is said here, is caused by the modes of material nature. See? So actually, the soul is always conscious, but either it is just like the, what is it called? It is explained in the second chapter, embryo. Is it this one? This is actually talking about lust. Actually, this is talking about lust, but there is anyway, this is also because of material modes, but I would want more direct. So here, in this verse itself, you see this waking, sleeping and deep sleep, or waking, dreaming and deep sleep, functions of intelligence caused by the modes of material nature. So just like if I drink, I will also feel very consciousness is not straight. So because it is too much covered by this, just like the moon. The moon is always there, it's stable. But the water reflecting the moon is shaking. Then the moon appears shaking. Actually the reality of the moon is it's not shaking. But because it is reflected like that, so this is a perverted reflection, this material world. So the soul is taking on, just like the dog. What is the soul actually? Original consciousness is Krishna conscious. How intelligent the soul actually is in this pure state. But how foolish a dog is. But it's the same soul, right? So it is covered by the modes. So these ingredients which cause the influence of the soul to be even more covered, these are in the mode of ignorance. Just like intoxicants. Why we refrain from intoxicants? Because it will put us to the mode of ignorance. So this chloroform also will put us to the mode of ignorance. But of course, for surgery's sake, it is done. So these are all in the modes. So it is just covering the consciousness of the soul. It is not that the consciousness or the soul itself is incapacitated due to these things. No. So that is also mentioned somewhere, the moon and the reflection. The wavering of the moon in the reflection is not the reality of the moon, but it appears like that. So this has to be properly understood. But consciousness itself is avinashi. It is never destroyed. So now the point is coming that we are eternal and this body is temporary. So avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvam idam tatam. And no one is able to kill, no one is able to destroy. Because Arjuna's conflict was here. That I am destroying families, I am destroying this, I am destroying people. But you are not destroying anyone, Krishna is saying. The soul cannot be destroyed. So if you think you are destroying someone or you are being destroyed, this is ignorance. A man of knowledge will not think like that. See, this verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul. Another thing, the pains and pleasures of one body are unknown to another. So our influence, however big our body may be, whether it's an elephant, whether it's a tree, whether it's a blue whale or it's a virus. So however big or small our body may be, our consciousness is spread to the extent or the limits of the body, but not outside. Not outside. But the Lord, He is different. He is conscious of all bodies. So to say that we are God is absolute nonsense. As the other day Subal Prabhu was giving the lecture, he said, if somebody says he is God, challenge him. What am I feeling now? Do you know? So if he cannot explain, then what is he doing? What kind of God is that? So he knows intimately, not just nowadays there is everybody wants to become Paramatma. Everybody, the tendency to become God is very much prominent in the material world. With what are they trying to do with the big data? You know what's big data? From the Facebook or the Google, your browsing data, according to that they try to gather your personality, your character, your likes, your dislikes, your movements, So according to that they want to pitch you some ads and they want to make money out of it. So they want to know you as intimately as they can, trying to become a Paramatma. So they are taking to this AI, artificial intelligence, to try to know us more deeply and personally. But actually the person behind this whole AI system, he doesn't know me personally. is the artificial intelligence system which follows us and makes it look that they know us very well. But actually it doesn't know. And also, with that, he is just trying to see what is good for him. But the Lord is actually Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He knows us very intimately like a friend. Not like a friend. He is our friend, Suhridam. As Prabhupada said, there are many words for friend. Friend is a general word. But in Sanskrit, there are many words. Mitra, Sakha, Bandhu, Suhrit. What else? And in Hindi there is Dost also. Yeah, Bandhu is finished. Bandhu, Mitra, Sakha. Like this, there are few words which all mean friend. But they all are different in the closeness of how much that friendship is close or intimate. So a mitra or sakha is just like acquaintance or no, actually no. Bandhu is official friend, like just like a casual friend or just an acquaintance. But then suhrit, when the suhrit word is used, hrit means heart, hridam, hridayam. So hrit means heart. And su means good, so good heart. That means he from the heart he is actually wishing well for us. Literally from our heart. So he is sitting there. We and he are sitting there in the heart. So he is our most intimate and most well-wishing friend. He knows us very, very intimately, just like how much you reveal to a close friend. So that much he knows about us. And everybody thinks that, oh Krishna, when they pray to Krishna, they find some special, when the prayers are answered or, when the doubts are cleared. So we feel that, oh, Krishna has responded to my prayer. That personal attention is giving to every single one of the innumerable living entities. We cannot do that. So this is only done by the Lord, but ours, only this much we know about limit of the body. That's it. That's the limit of our consciousness. But Krishna, no. He knows the pains and pleasures of everyone. The symptom of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. So if somebody is conscious, that means he is living. The soul is there. This soul is described as 1/10,000th. So this is explained. We have
Spread over all the body.
Yeah.
Soul is so tiny, spread all over the body.
Yes. Its influence is spread all over the body. The current, as Prabhupada said in the purport, the current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness.
Prana, Apan, all those air breathing.
Yeah, that will come to. It is floating in the air of these 5 airs, floating in. That verse was quoted. So just like the sun is in one place, but the light is everywhere. Like that, the soul is in one place, in the heart, but its influence is all over the body, illuminated by consciousness. So, the localized aspect and the all-pervading aspect. But it's all-pervading only within the body. Come out of the body, that's it, finish. Its influence is not there. So, the individual soul can never be God or never become God by any process. Active principle. See, even a medicine, influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body as the influence of the active principle of some medicine spreads throughout the body. There is, what is that? Chloride? What is the chloride which is so poisonous?
Cyanide.
What cyanide? Isocyanide. It's so poisonous. that the moment it touches the tongue, the person will die immediately. Poison is spread entire body. He just touches the tongue only. Just touch. I think they tried to find out the taste of that, and they wrote S before they started taking it. I think that was what I heard. Scientists at that point, at the time, they wanted taste, and they wrote S because with S starts many tastes: sour, sweet, salty. So they wrote S. So to write what else? What is the next? I think they tried and then they could not even write and died. And they never experimented with the medicine. So just touch of the tongue and spread immediately to the entire body and died. Arrest the heart. So if a medicine or a chemical can have such an all-pervading influence, how much more the soul, which is spiritual? This is just material. The current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness, and that is the proof of the presence of the soul. Any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body. And this is important. This consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. They may artificially or temporarily suppress the activity of consciousness, but once the consciousness leaves or the soul leaves the body, they cannot replace it with any amount of chemical. That they cannot do. The soul is still there. Sometimes the soul just hovers. Near death experience. They see themselves from outside. They see their body on the operation theatre and they're just floating in the air, out of body. So that too, it depends. Not that every time they give shock, the soul must come back, Sometimes it doesn't. So unless the Lord wills, it won't happen. So the will of the Lord, even heart transplant, when they do heart transplant, how does a heart transplant work? If the soul is sitting in the heart, then if the heart is changed, sometimes in the movies they show that the heart of a different person came and this guy start to talk like that person and behave like that person. No, it's not like that. The heart is only the seat of the soul. So Prabhupada explained very simply that when the heart transplant is going on, and just like if I am sitting on this chair and then I am asked to get up and sit on another chair. So while that chair is being ready, I will just wait, and then once the chair is ready, I will sit on that chair. So like that, the soul is just shifted from this heart to that heart, the seat to that seat. But the soul doesn't change; it's the same person. What to speak? The modern scientist or the doctor, they don't have. They haven't done brain transplant yet, or the head transplant. But this is already done in the Vedic. We have information, like Ganesh, head transplant. Not even human head, elephant head for still worked. And he was not trumpeting like elephant, elephant sound. He was not very intelligent, speaking like human. And another example is Daksha Prajapati. He got a goat head. He is not he is not doing that. He was Prajapati, son of Brahma. Not an idiot. He did not have the goat's brain. See, he had the goat brain, but he is as intelligent as he was before, just like a Prajapati, demigod. He was still the demigod only, after the brain transplant happened also. So this science, they are actually going to try, I think, on somebody who has a very degenerative brain disease, something like that. So I think I don't know whatever happened after that. So they're trying to do brain transplant. It's a big advancement in science. They're advertising like anything. But it's already done before. These things have already been done before. So there is that kind of mystic abilities. But still, the principle is that the soul, once it leaves the body, by any amount of chemical, it cannot be brought back. No. Therefore, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but to the spirit soul. Here, Eshonuratma, this is what Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad. Eshonuratma chetasa veditavyo yasmin prana panchadha samvivesha pranaischittam sarvamotam prajanam yasmin vishuddhe vibhavatyesha atma. The soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. This atomic soul is floating in the 5 kinds of air: prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. Actually, in the Smarta Brahman, when I was a boy, that time I was initiated into the Smarta Vidhi. So, before eating, there is no offering process. Here we offer to Krishna and then eat prasadam. But there was, they call it aupasanam. Then before start to eat, we have to, sprinkle water and chant some mantras. And then we have to also chant this prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. So, these 5 kinds of air is also mentioned there, that to nourish these 5 kinds. So, this mantra like that. So, 5 kinds of air means, what is 5 kinds of air? What is this 5 kinds of air? Air we know. What is 5 kinds? It is classified according to the movement. Air going up, air going down. Just now, what is that verse? 15, 14. Is it? You see? Prana, apana. Samayuktaha. Prana, apana. This is 2 of the airs. Prana, the outgoing air. Apana, the downgoing air. You see? The inhaling, exhaling. 5 kinds of air means 5 kinds of movement of the air. See? So each of them is classified as one type of the air. See? So that is explained. And when we say kapha vata pitta, mucus, bile and air, this is what it's talking about. Air, the movement of the air, when it is not in balance, then the person becomes sick. When there is too much of bile, imbalance of bile, then becomes sick. Or too much of mucus, then is sick. So this is how a person becomes sick. This is science. So air problem means one of the air or 2 or more are imbalanced. The movement is not proper. That's when our body becomes disarranged. And when we become old, the air starts. When the air is everything is good, then the body is firm, the skin is firm. As we grow old, it will wrinkle. Why? Because the air is slackened. It doesn't hold firmly. So that's when we don't have control of our organs. So this is explained like that. So, going back to the floating in the 5 kinds of air, is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. Now, this is actually a contaminated position. Of course, in one part of the Bhagavad Gita, later on it is said, the soul is not withered by the wind. That means with the wind you cannot push the soul. How come it is floating in the air then? Again, because there is what? Nasoshayati marutaha, is it one? Yeah. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. So, none of the material elements can actually influence the soul. The soul has no material elements. How can they? We cannot kill the soul, we cannot. But still, we are trapped within the body, which is material. How the spirit soul is trapped within the material body then? if it cannot be confined by any material means or cannot be destroyed, how it is controlled by matter then?
Desires accumulated. So God has given us body like to enjoy our karma.
So this body is a representation of our state of consciousness. How we wanted, what we did and what we deserved and how we wanted to behave. According to that, we are given a suitable body so as to fulfill our desires. So we are the ones who agreed to be imprisoned in this body. The soul wants to be always, soul is free to do whatever he wants. Whatever means he either listens to Krishna or doesn't listen. Two choices only actually we have. Either I just do on my own whims, whimsical action, or sanctioned action by the scriptures, by the Lord. So I can do either of these two things only. So when I don't listen to the Lord and I do my own thing, then I will, as man proposes, God disposes. So He will provide us the facility for that action. So in that way we are confined. We have asked for it, for this confinement. It's like now we are citizen in the Singapore. We can roam around freely wherever we want. But when we do some nonsense, then we are confined in the prison. Why I am confined? I asked for it. So like that. As a citizen of Singapore, a citizen can be anywhere. But if it does some crime, then put in jail, confinement. So like that. So otherwise, just like Narad Muni, he could go anywhere. There is no restriction for him. He can go anywhere. Material, spiritual universe, anywhere he can go. So the pure spirit soul is that free. Freedom, full freedom of movement. But when we are not, then we will confine. What?
In the previous verse, it was written five kinds of material here. So there is material here.
Yeah.
Prana,
Air is always material. Air is Bhumi, Apa, Analo, Vayu, Kham, Vayu. So that is how our soul is situated. The Hatha Yoga system is to, pranayama means the air is controlled, 5 kinds, is meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures. Not for any material profit. You see how deep actually the yoga is. It is to control the movement of the 5 kinds of air, and the soul is gradually the chakra, from the abdomen, so all the way to the Brahmarandhra, and then the soul goes from there and departs the body. That's the perfection of yogic practice. But we can forget it because in Kali Yuga it's not even possible. Hardly anyone can do it. But the chanting is very potent. Once Prabhupada was asked, so you all do pranayama, some breathing exercise? Yeah, we do. So what kind of breathing? And no, when we chant Hare Krishna, there is inhaling, exhaling, there is breathing going on. What is breathing on? Prabhupada had his sense of humor. He asked with seriousness, do you do some breathing exercise? Yes, we do. What breathing? We chant Hare Krishna, there is inhaling, exhaling, this breathing is enough.
focusing on Hare Krishna only is also meditation. That we are not letting our mind go here and there.
Exactly. So it is already included. The breathing is already included in the chanting. So what? The whole breathing, the whole idea of this thing is Smartavya Satatam Vishnur Vismartavya Najatu Chit. To always remember Krishna and to never forget Him. What if we do breathing and forget the whole point of remembering Krishna? So here we are breathing and we are chanting Hare Krishna. So this is the best way. This is the best yogic process actually. So, because the measurement of the atomic soul is beyond the power of appreciation of the material scientists, some of them assert foolishly that there is no soul. So, reading from the 217 purport itself. So, because this is the way the scientists, modern science is that observation and experimentation. To know everything by observation and experimentation. Observing material with material senses, experimenting with the material working senses. So there are 5 kinds of knowledge acquiring senses, 5 kinds of working senses. 10 senses are there according to our 5 senses we know. Those are called knowledge acquiring senses. That means with those senses we acquire knowledge about something. Whether like we taste something, we know its taste. So this is acquiring knowledge about that food or something. So or we see, we know how it looks. So that's again knowledge acquiring. But working senses are the hands, the feet, the speech. Tongue is acting as 2, working sense and knowledge acquiring sense. Tasting is knowledge acquiring and speech is working sense. So hands, legs, speech, genitals and the anus. So these are working senses. So by experimentation, we actually put our working senses into use, and by observation we put our knowledge acquiring senses into use. So the whole observation and experimentation field or the domain of activities is sensory perception. So with this sensory perception, we cannot appreciate even the soul, what to speak of the super soul. So no wonder they say there is no God. Forget about God, first find yourself, you don't even know who you are. This is why with any amount of material advancement in science, we cannot even understand the presence of the soul. Although it is actually common sense. The individual atomic soul is definitely there in the heart along with the super soul, and thus all the energies of the body. This is another thing. Everybody, doctor sees the ECG. When person is in the critical condition, they see the ECG, whether it is. So the heart is where they measure whether this person consciousness is there or not, whether this person is alive or not. That means, in one sense, they know that the seat of all energies is the heart. They know this. But why exactly the heart is the seat of all energy, they don't know. They say the blood is coming there and getting purified and then going to the lungs and then going to the brain and this, that. And then again coming back to the heart from the arteries and veins and all the things they explain. But why that heart? What is there in that heart? That is actually the soul. They don't know that part. They know the heart is actually the one which is purifying as the Prabhupada said in the purport, the corpuscles which carry the oxygen from the lungs, gather energy from the soul. So they gather energy from the soul in the heart and then they move about. So this is actually the scientific understanding of the soul. But if we negate this, they cannot explain why it happens. See? When the soul passes away from this position, the activity of the blood generating fusion ceases. Medical science accepts the importance of the red corpuscles, but it cannot ascertain that the source of the energy is the soul. Medical science, however, does admit that the heart is the seat of all energies. So that much they can understand, at least heart, something seat is, that is energies are coming from there. But nothing material can be powered without the spirit. Matter cannot be powered unless there is spirit. If there is no spirit, the matter is dead. It's like, the fan is just idly sitting. And when the electricity is given, then it starts moving. Or just like lights. Electricity is connected, then it will start acting. So until then it is lifeless. So, of course, background of the electricity is again a person. Person has to switch on. That is. So, just like electricity is powering, so the soul is powering the matter. Somebody may be very strong. You take out the soul, the body cannot even lift anything. Nothing. So, where is the power coming from? They say, oh, muscles. Yeah, muscles are enabling. But what the muscles and dead body can do? So, unless the person is there, it won't work. So, this is how we have to very deeply contemplate how we are the soul. Just saying, oh, we are soul, we are, not vaguely. Deeply, scientifically, we have to understand these things. Then only our conviction grows. Why Krishna is explaining in different angles. Later, this whole second chapter until almost 30 something verses, he is explaining about this subject only from different angles of vision about how the soul is situated in this body, how we are actually not this body, we are separate from this body. He is very explicitly describing the soul. Why? Because this is the fundamental. If this we are not strong in this understanding. Spiritual life is what spiritual means what? Pertaining to the spirit. But if the spirit we don't understand, what do you will understand spiritual life? What is the life of the spirit soul in its pure state? We can't understand anything. That's why before telling anything else, Krishna is clearing this point first. Such atomic particles of the spirit soul, spirit whole, are compared to the sunshine molecules. This is the comparison given. Like the sun is the bright illuminating body, and from there the sunshine molecules, they are actually very, very tiny molecules of bright sunshine. That is called sunshine. Actually, it is a particles. If you see from the window, you can see particles. Actually, in quantum physics also it is explained like this. All light is actually packets of energy. Very tiny. So, the soul is like that. One tiny particle in that effulgence of the Supreme Lord. So, those who are impersonalists, they go to the Brahma Jyoti. Brahma Jyoti means the light that is emanating from Krishna's body. It's so bright that millions and trillions of suns cannot even match that effulgence. When we are impersonalist, we are not admitted into the spiritual planets. We go to the spiritual sky but not to the spiritual planets, and we remain suspended in the spiritual sky as one of the particles of Brahma Jyoti light. So that is actually what we are. But when we develop the attitude of service to the Supreme Lord, accepting that no, I am not a monist, I am not equal with the Lord, I am actually separate from the Lord, I am inferior and He is superior, I am His servant. The constitutional position or the natural position of an inferior is to serve the superior. That's a natural position. So we are inferior, being inferior. Our natural position is to serve the Supreme Lord. But when I think that I am the Supreme Lord, that's when I want to merge into the Supreme Lord. And there are two kinds of merging also. Merging into the Brahma Jyoti, and some want to merge into the body of the Supreme Lord. And the ones who want to merge into the body of the Supreme Lord are even worse than the ones who want to merge into the light of the Supreme Lord. Actually, this is explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Brahma Ishvara Sayujya Dvita Prakar. Ishvara Sayujya hoite Dhikkar. Let's take out. Brahma Ishvara Sayujya Dvita Prakar. Brahma Sayujya hoite Ishvara Sayujya Dhikkar. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, there are two kinds of Sayujya Mukti, merging into the Brahman effulgence and merging into the personal body of the Lord. Merging into the Lord's body is even more abominable than merging into His effulgence. Actually, this is good if we know the purport of this. You see, according to the opinion of the Mayavadi Vedantists, this is Mayavadi philosophy that we are, Shankaracharya, he started this philosophy. Advaitam. This is that. This is a twisted philosophy. This is a wrong philosophy. But he was ordered to do this by Narayana. But that's why we should not hear Shankaracharya's philosophy. According to the opinion of Mayavadi Vedantists, the living entity's ultimate success is to merge into the impersonal Brahman. The impersonal Brahman or bodily effulgence of the Supreme Lord is known as Brahmaloka or Siddhaloka. According to the Brahma Samhita, Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti, the material universes are generated from the bodily rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yogis who follow the principles of Patanjali accept the personality of the Absolute Truth. But they want to merge into the transcendental body of the Supreme Lord. That is their desire. Being the greatest authority, the Supreme Lord can easily allow many millions of living entities to merge into His body. The origin of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Bhagavan, and His bodily effulgence is known as the Brahmajyoti, Brahmaloka or Siddhaloka. Thus, Brahmaloka or Siddhaloka is a place where many spark-like living entities, parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are assembled. Because these living entities do not wish to keep their individual existences, they are combined and allowed to remain in Brahmalokas like so many atomic particles of sunshine emanating from the sun. The word Siddha is very significant. Siddha refers to one who has realized the Brahman effulgence and who has complete knowledge that the living entity is not a material atom but a spiritual spark. This understanding is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Brahma Bhuta. In the conditioned state, the living entity is known as Jiva Bhuta or the living force within matter. Brahma Bhuta living entities are allowed to stay in Brahmaloka or Siddhaloka, but unfortunately they sometimes again fall into the material world because they are not engaged in devotional service. This is supported by the verse in Bhagavatam beginning Yenye Ravindaksha. These semi-liberated souls, you see that? Semi-liberated souls. This is the classic term for these people. You may say liberation, but actually semi-liberated. Falsely claim to be liberated, but unless one engages in devotional service to the Lord, he is still materially contaminated. This is the point. To just understand that we are not the body and we are the soul, that is only halfway through. The other half is that we are the soul, fine. As we say, now we are related to so many of our family, friends, enemies, this, that, based on the body. We have relationships. Now, if we are the soul and we are not the body, so these relationships are unreal. So what is our real relationship? With who? Because we are not independent in our existence, we are depending so much on the supplies of nature. So we are dependent. Just like materially speaking, we are dependent on the relationships of our families, friends, colleagues, this, that. We are dependent on these relationships. So our spiritual existence, actually, our very existence is dependent on the relationship with the Supreme Lord. So unless we establish that relationship, simply cutting off this relationship and understanding that I am the soul, I am not this body, I don't belong to this family, don't belong to this country, saying that is not enough. Or realizing that is not enough. To understand that, yes, I am detached from this, yes, but I have to be attached to Krishna. Our status of being attached cannot be negated or cannot be removed. We have to be attached. Because we cannot live on our own. Only the Lord can live on His own. Because we have to attach ourselves, we have to attach to Krishna. Where our attachment is, that is what matters. So unless our attachment for Krishna has developed, we are not completely liberated. It is like a sick man in the hospital is treated. The disease is treated and then he becomes well. Well means just outside the boundary of sickness. He is still not healthy enough to jump and actively run a marathon. No, nowhere close. He is just outside of the sickness, but is still in the ICU or in the hospital line. So that is considered not sick, but it is not healthy also. Semi-recovered. So there can be a relapse of the sickness. So this is what happens if we only get until the point of nirvana in Buddhism, or in Mayavadi philosophy, just liberation in the sense that impersonal. No, it's not enough. We have to become completely healthy. That means the spirit soul should not just be, this material life is called bhavarog, or the disease of material existence. In the diseased state, we are so active. We are doing so many things. How much you can do if you have a fever? You can only do so much. You cannot do much. That means if I am healthy, if I am out of the fever, I should be much more active than I was in the fever. So real healthy life or spiritual life means, now we are doing so many things in material life, we are so busy. In spiritual life, we have to be infinite times more busy. Not that suspend all activity, become like stone, or do nothing, then simply just like that, like a stone. No, that is not spiritual life. Spiritual life means full of activity, but for Krishna's sake. Now here the activity is for my sake. I want to be happy in this endeavor. Why I am doing something? Because I want to be happy. No. I am doing for the humanity. I want to do some welfare. Yeah, because with that I will become happy again. And then because the human is my species, I am concerned about that. Maybe animals I will still kill. Or some people are fighting for animal rights. But then plants are killed. So actually we cannot work for everyone's benefit unless we are Krishna conscious. We cannot work for everyone's benefit. We cannot be completely selfless in this material world. And selflessness is not really it's not possible. Even in devotion, that's why it says, Tattvavit swarthagatim hi Vishnu. If one knows one's real self-interest, what is the real self-interest? Self-interest means, in this case, the Supreme Self, who is the self of the self, who is the soul of all souls. To Tattvavit swarthagatim hi Vishnu, the real self-interest is to serve Vishnu. That is real self-interest. Selflessness means no sense gratification, but still interested in the Supreme Self of Krishna. I want to serve Krishna. Not that selflessness means, there is no endeavor at all. No. Or no desire, no nothing. No desire means that is a stone. Stone has no desire. But if I have become so-called liberated and come to the point of no desires anymore, then I have become a stone. Actually, I have not become anything higher, I have become much lower. So, to have no desires is not possible. Even the desire to come to a state of no desires is a desire itself. So, desiring now for our sense gratification, that is bad. But desiring for Krishna's gratification, anything I want to do for Krishna. Everything. Like here we are using this technology, now we are on Facebook Live. So many people are going on Facebook Live with, some business proposals, some selling something, this, that, just, chit-chatting with gossip, So many things they are doing. But the same thing we are using. It's not that, this Facebook is all nonsense, we won't touch it, we won't see no evil, touch no evil, whatever. No, we are not like that. Nothing is evil is in the person who is using the tool. These are all tools, enablers. A gun is good or bad? A gun is good or bad? It is neither. If it is in the hand of a ill-intentioned person, then it has bad effect. But if the police is good or bad? Police is good or bad? Good, right? Oh, good man, I should not carry gun, I am a good man, I am a policeman. What kind of police he is? He has to have a gun if he is supposed to be a good policeman. So, how you define good and bad? The gun is just a tool. How I use it, who uses it, in whose hand it is, that is what matters. Hammer. I can drive a nail into the wall and hang some Krishna's picture. Or I can hit somebody's head and kill him. What I do with that hammer is neither good or bad. The person who is holding it. So similarly, we don't say anything is good or bad. Everything belongs to Krishna. And we have to use it in His service. But if I am taking Krishna's thing and using for my service, then I am a thief. If I come to your home and then take your thing and I use myself, is that not a thief? Now we are taking everything from Krishna. You may say, how Krishna created the laptop. Huh? Where did you get the ingredients for laptop, sir? You have taken from Krishna only, manipulated it. And who gave you the brain to manipulate? Your father, mother. They don't know what is going on in the mother doesn't know anything what is going on in the womb. She is creating the brain, meditating and creating one brain. No. She has no damn idea of what is going on inside. It's just simply bearing the pain and suffering only there. Who is actually engineering the whole body inside? The Lord. The brain to create, the Lord has given. The ingredients to create, Lord has given. And even after creating you, if He doesn't give you the oxygen, you will die also. If He doesn't give you water, you will die. He doesn't give the food, die. So we are completely dependent on Him. So it is His property. So whatever the scientists have done, we don't say this is bad. But don't use it for sense gratification. Sense gratification is bad. Prabhupada once said, only the devotees should use the aeroplane. Non-devotees should not fly. What they are flying for? Going here and going there, and while flying also they eating meat there. And going somewhere and then doing some nonsense again. Same eating, sleeping, mating, defending. What the animals are doing, the same thing they are doing. Whether they fly or whether they go on the road or whatever, they are doing the same things. The mentality of the person did not change much from the animals. We have not evolved much from the animals. Animalistic state. What if I am in a big skyscraper building and I am eating some rubbish? I am eating. A dog is eating on the street. After all, our stomachs are getting filled. So whether I do it 100 floors high or at the ground level, what is the difference? My stomach is getting filled only. Right? Or if I am a big, 5-star hotel, I am sleeping. Oh, comfortable. But after I sleep, I don't know where I am sleeping. And after the dog is sleeping on the road, he also doesn't know where he is sleeping. Deep sleep, both deep sleep. And after waking up, both are feeling same freshness. What is the difference? Whether you drink water from a gold cup or whether you drink water from a coconut shell, taste of the water is not going to change. So that is what we are simply packaging it differently and saying that we have advanced. And we are fooling ourselves that we are advanced. When in reality we are doing the same things in different packaging, that's all. That's why Shastra says Dvipada Pashu. A human being who has not actually used his brain to understand about who he is and who is God, he is a Dvipada Pashu, two-legged animal. However advanced technologically you may be, is animal. Because he hasn't risen from the eating, sleeping, mating and defending platform. Ahara, Nidra, Bhayamaithanam. He hasn't gone beyond this domain of four activities. When we have the brain and facility to inquire, who am I? Which the animals cannot do. And if we don't ask that question and find our answers for that question, then what? We are living in the domain of the animals only. Sophisticated or they say man is a social animal. And as if the animals are all antisocial. They are having better societies than us, having better cooperation than us. The ants, how they have you seen the bees? How they have extensive network, social network. In fact, there was a study done. I read one report. The bees, their communication exactly resembles our social media, or actually they do it much better than us on social media. What we do, they communicate information much in the same way as we do on social media. But their network is far better. We are talking about we are the social animal. What? Everybody has their own societies. The animals actually, every other species will think we are the antisocial element because we are destroying this world. Ecosystem destroyed, this destroyed, global warming, all because of one species. Actually there was a speech by one man. What is that? If our one species, among so many millions of species, our one species is causing so much damage in this world, that if it was a virus, they would, if it was any other thing, they would call it a lethal virus. Because it's human, we are saying we are very advanced. Because we belong to that species. But if it was any other species, they would say this is the most dangerous virus, we should kill it by all means. So that we are doing, because why? Too much intelligence given to a fool. Creating nuclear bombs. Already people are dying. Why you are inventing something to accelerate death and maximize the number of deaths that can happen in a moment? Why? What is a great achievement? If there something can be created where life can be preserved, that is something. You may say, oh, medical science is also going on. What medical science? However you get medicines, whatever you do, you cannot get out of this death. So much advancement has happened. And has anyone become immortal? This body has to die. Immortal means the soul. Therefore, we have to be concerned with the soul. Not so much on the focus on the body. So, Vimukta Manina, they are called Vimukta Manina, semi-liberated souls. Just go to the Brahman effulgence, but not to the service. Go to the planets where they can serve the Lord. Falsely considered liberated, although the intelligence is not yet purified. What is that?
Intelligence is not yet purified means they have the desire. That is why.
No, intelligence not purified means they have not understood themselves yet completely. They have not understood that they are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. They understood they are not the body, but they understood what they are not, but they have not understood what they are. To hold something in my hand and say, what is in my hand? And I will say, it is not a pen, it is not an eraser, it is not a this. I am saying what it is not, but what it is. Even after a million descriptions of what it is not, you will never understand what it is. If I say, it is this, then automatically you will understand it is this and it is not all these other things. So that simple knowledge is lacking in these people, Mayavadis.
But if the Vaishnava philosophy is so easy to understand, then what's the point of the impersonation preached by Santa?
That was actually only a timely necessity. Because the Buddhist philosophy was Nirvana, saying that there is no God. And they especially went against the Vedas. Buddha said no reading the Vedas. Nindasi yajna vidher ahaha shruti jatam.
But Lord Buddha is also incarnation of
Yes. So that is all explained in Prabhupada's books, you should read. Buddha came because the people in the Vedic civilization, they were misusing the Vedas. They were killing animals because in the Vedas there is provision to kill animals in a restricted manner, but they were killing without restrictions. They say, oh, Vedas can kill. So he said, okay, fine, you don't follow the Vedas anymore. Stop animal killing. Then he taught this Buddhism way. Then everybody started following that. But then it was dangerous because he said, don't follow the Vedas. So the Vedas have to be brought back again. So it was done as an emergency to stop them from killing animals because they are not interested in learning the correct way. So he said no. So Shankaracharya brought back the Vedas with a philosophy which is similar to akin to Buddhism so that it will appeal to the Buddhists. So he brought back the authority of the Vedas again. So again people will. So and he preached a philosophy similar to Buddhism so that, okay, it's acceptable. And once the Vedas were established, then Ramanujacharya came and thwarted the Shankaracharya philosophy, destroyed his philosophy totally, and then established the Vaishnavism. And then eventually, after that Madhvacharya, and then eventually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He combined all the sampradayas together, and then what we have is the cream of all philosophy. So, the followers of the Patanjali yoga system actually want to merge into the body of the Supreme Personality of God. This indicates that they do not want to engage in His service despite their knowledge of Him, and thus their position is even more abominable than those who want to merge into the Lord's effulgence. This is the reason why the yogis are actually more abominable than the jnanis. The jnanis, they don't have that information about the personality of the Lord, or they think He is impersonal. But the yogis, they meditate on the form of the Lord. Dhyanavastita tadgatena manasa pashyantiyam yogina. They meditate on the form of the Lord, but then they do not want to serve Him. They want to merge into His existence. So when you do a mistake with knowledge, it is worse than doing mistake without the knowledge. So these people, yogis, are more abominable because of this. Despite having known the form of the Lord, still they don't serve Him. So, I would like to stop here. Any questions or comments? Stop then. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Thai Gaur Premanande.